Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries podcast. Your resting point between quests. Let's join our hosts as we talk about this week's events in Hearthstone Mercenaries.
Welcome to Spirit Healer, a Hearthstone Mercenaries podcast, a podcast focused on taking you through Mercenaries news, updates, and weekly topics to keep you at the top of your Mercenaries game. I'm dragonrider, joined as always by my fellow hosts, Cinder and Siimba. How are you two doing today?
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, it's life comes at you real fast sometimes, and manifest the things you want in the universe, y'all, because if you keep putting it out there, it will happen. It's all about that mindset, y'all.
That's true. And if you don't, life will come by, smack you in the face, and keep running. It will not stop, and you won't catch it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, last week was maybe a bit heavy. It was very dense. We had a lot to talk about last week, but on the other side, this week it's a holiday week here in the United States. It's Thanksgiving week. But we didn't really get a lot of news or anything in relative to Mercenaries. So there's not a whole lot going on. Most people at Blizzard have this week off as well. So there's not a ton going on, but holy moly, we did not get a chance because there was so many things to talk about. So we're going to talk a little bit this week, but we did have at least the new expansion was announced, which is cool, right? So we've had the Alterac Valley, all of that announced, and I don't know if I can't remember, honestly, if we mentioned it last week because there was so many things. But
it dropped. The announcement for Alterac dropped this at the same time as that damn article. That's okay, why.
Yeah,
we didn't get a chance.
Yeah, and so just want to reiterate. I know Siimba brought this up before we were recording, so just want to make sure that if you weren't aware that now because Mercenaries is out, the Mega Bundle is including a Merc Legendary and 5 packs that you get immediately upon getting that bundle. So you get those now. You can open those packs now. You don't have to wait till the expansion or anything. So if you are missing a Mercenary Legendary, you want some packs, that kind of thing, those are included if you're planning on getting the Mega Bundle as well, which pretty neat that we're seeing Mercenary stuff included as well. Just makes that Mega Bundle even better of a deal.
Yeah, do you guys get the Mega Bundles? Do you guys pre-order stuff at all?
Yes.
I don't currently. I'm a little under budget on stuff for the moment. That'll change soon. But Dawn, you do, right?
Yeah, I do, and I kind of always have. I've usually always done just the Mega Bundle, but now as this has kind of become my full-time job, it's at least a little more reasonable and a tax write-off kind of thing to be able to do that. So yeah. I always make sure that so this time I'll definitely be getting both bundles, kind of trying to be doing a little bit of content in relative to that. So yeah, I'm definitely getting them, but I've always gotten the Mega Bundle usually at least. So I'm like, hey, cool, we get a little bit more stuff on top of that for about the same value we've been paying anyways. So yay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking. I when I was younger, I always had a small budget for getting new games, and then after I hit college, I started playing the same 3 games. You find your favorite game or whatever. So
yeah.
That's how. Yeah. So instead of going out and buying Game Pass or 7 games throughout the year, I'll just get 4 Mega Bundles. There's a couple times that I've gotten both bundles, but this Mega Bundle looks amazing for the the $80 that it is. Value wise, we don't even have to get into the nitty gritty of it, but value wise, it looks amazing because there's legendaries. There's 2, I believe. I didn't realize that there was a little 2 flag on it for standard legendaries, and they look golden? ? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they've been giving away goldens with more frequency lately.
Yeah, so a couple golden legendaries, a few golden regular packs. The 5 mercenary packs is really cool though. They're like, hey, you want to taste? I'm gonna sip of this juice, and I'm like, I guess, cool. Open those up, and you're like, I'll give you a legendary too. Blow, hop on in.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, so that one's, value there. The value is definitely there. And if you're already, super into mercenaries, which you probably are if you're here, the legendary mercenary bundle down below, it's $10 for a random legendary and 10 packs, which if you go back a few episodes, value-wise is pretty good. I don't know that I'll get it. I'm not sure, but value-wise, it's good. I like that one.
Yeah, I definitely think they started making better value with some of those bundles, at least a little bit. We'll see if they continue changing things up or trying different like price points and stuff. But yeah, pretty interesting. I'll plug something later. Okay. How have the balance adjustments worked for everybody? We had those changes, right? We've got how many those, what did it say? Several changes. And we spent like 30 minutes talking about them. How have those affected your Mercenaries play so far? Siimba, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, affecting Mercenaries play, not a ton. I mean, so personally, I've had, a little bit of PvP in the last week. Didn't see much. A lot of the comps are the same. Granted, I'm not super high. I'm still like in the 4,000 or 5,000. So I don't know what it looks like top ladder. Throughout PvE, the changes didn't affect me too much. Most of the stuff, whether it's grinding for tasks, or coins specifically, it didn't change what comps I was using at all, basically, for farming. However, it did change the mercenaries that I wanted to upgrade faster. Like it put Cookie really high up on the list. It put I believe Don really high up on my list of stuff that I wanted to get finished. And there was one more, I feel like. I'll think of it later. If I think of it, I'll yell it out. But that's what changed mostly, is which mercenaries I wanted to get to 30 fastest.
For my end, like one of my better, or one of my more frequent grinding builds for the high level stuff is like a holy humans kind of comp that has like both of the roams, or well, I guess there's 3 roams, but the two holy roams, Cariel and Cornelius. And also Tyrion is in there as well, and they all got bumped up by the changes. And Cornelius feels really good. The whole making hold the front cool down to 0 just lets him heal on command, so you don't necessarily have to have like a dedicated healer, and like he can be the dedicated healer in the group. So I started doing this. I started doing Tyrion, since Tyrion has bumped up stats. Cornelius in the middle and Anduin on the right. I guess it doesn't matter if they're left or right, but Cornelius is in the middle. That's the important part. He can heal and block the attacks on the other two to keep him from getting focused down by the by the enemy minions. And his health starts coming down, and then Anduin can follow up with his healing abilities to keep him boosted back up, and then Tyrion does his bubble plus stat bump, and like Cornelius is back to full health. It's a really efficient comp that I've had a lot of fun with. So I probably just need to go back and beat the rest of Blackrock Mountain, because I think that's a good one to try it with. But other than those, I also found Mutinous to be super fun now. With the scaly taunt and the iridescent necklace, like letting him taunt and ignore 8 damage like on every hit. Just, oh my god, it's so good. And no critical hits either with the necklace. So it's like he's so tough, and I love his abilities, like just being able to completely eat minions and gain their stats. He's just fun. So like the Murlocs I've found to be a lot more fun. I don't know if I would call them more viable as like a high level grinding comp. They still have their issues, but way better than they used to be, for sure. I like them a lot now. I mean, I liked them a lot before, but I like them even more now, and I think that earns me a oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. The iridescent necklace is a banger of an equipment. Absolutely. This will be a cool example of something like for a casual mode, like competitive but casual. I don't even know how that makes sense. It makes sense. You've played standard.
Yeah.
To see, because putting Murloc comps, it might drop your MMR in competitive, but that would be a super fun thing. Like you said, all the Murlocs are super fun now. I'd love to take them in there and make some for the memes videos for the tube, right? Like that would be amazing.
For the U face. The us tube and stuff.
Face
yeah,
tube.
Tangster. Tangster was talking about maybe thinking about doing a peons format, which would be like kind of like a casual tournament, but like no legendaries, basically. I'm like, I'm down for that, man. That sounds dope. Let's do it.
Yes. I think people familiar with Magic usually refer to it as Pauper, right? Like a Pauper format.
But yes, so
Yes.
Pauper format. Correct.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. Like, yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle of the two of you, I guess, in terms of how I felt for the changes. I don't feel like I've gotten to try them all or really a lot of the ones that I've wanted to because I don't have all of them or have all of them leveled yet. But I did want to try Murlocs, but I'm also really interested in finishing up demons because there was a lot of demon stuff that was changed, and I want to try like a demon comp and really see how that feels. But yeah, I'm missing like one or two of the in terms of actually like leveling it. I just need to put in the work to level it and get the equipment and stuff for them. But I want to try some demons. I think that's probably going to be one of my next goals to work towards.
Yeah, I agree. Demons is like super fun. Manaroth isn't one that's mentioned very often, but that's the one like just a personal one for me that I want to try out in the demon comp. Like I really like how Manaroth is built. I wouldn't say he's necessarily top tier. Again, I don't know. He's not maxed, but that's part of why I want to try. Besides the Jiraxis changes, of course, which were super awesome.
Yeah, I played with them a little bit. Having Jiraxis be able to spit out fell infernals every turn is pretty good because like Fist of Jiraxis is okay-ish as an ability. The cooldown one means it's not a core ability, right? It's going to be every other turn, and Legion Burst being a slow death blow means it's sometimes useful. So being able to spit out the Fell Infernal every turn makes him way more flexible in how he works out in the comp. Now, the thing that I find difficult with the demon comp is that there's no true taunt in the group, so it's hard to control how the opponents attack into them. But they do have a lot of overlapping synergies, obviously, and being able to flood the board with demons, it makes, especially if you take Tamsin Rome, because she actually has her ability also pops out a demon, and that can kind of tie in with Gul'dan's shadow abilities. So the demon shadow overlap is pretty high, and actually now that I mentioned it, Tamsin generates a taunt. The little shadow demon is a taunt, so it's doable. But yeah, it's not the best comp in my humble opinion, but yes, very fun just because of how you can trigger all the synergies very, very easily.
I really want to do a thing like I take some inspiration a lot from Kripparrian, and so like plays Battlegrounds most of the time now. But after he gets to a certain MMR, he'll just like tank his MMR because most of the content is like, this is fun. This is a fun build. This is a cool build. And like, I think that would be super awesome to do, is just be like, you know what? This month, I'm not worrying about comp. We're just going to do demons at low MMR. We're going to do Murlocs at low MMR. We're going to do humans at low MMR and just find the craziest stuff that could work. Because we're always going to get that like 1 in 50 game where it works out and everybody's screaming and it's hilarious. I think that would be super fun.
It's the Twitch clip, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, but that kind of play actually is like super important in developing metas, because there has to be someone who's willing to try the goofiest stuff, the corner case stuff that no one will try, because how else do you find like those hidden gems that that can really like surprise the meta, right? So being that person is not only is it fun, but it's actually helpful for developing metas. So like, don't be afraid to be that person, even if you're a competitive player, because that's it's all part of the tapestry of competitive play.
I hadn't thought about it like that. I like that.
Yeah,
we're gonna do that.
Yes. Well, I feel like this might be a good transition point, talking about like competitive play. We're talking about all the fun and the crazy things you can do. But let's talk about what people have done for some competitive stuff. We talked a couple weeks ago about wanting to talk a little bit, at least, about the the Mercenaries portion of that global invitational that happened. And yeah, then there was some not so great things that we definitely had to talk about last week. So it kind of ended up getting pushed off a little bit, but let's talk about it. We're not going to talk about all of the decks because that's just like there's way too many mercenaries and things that happen. But Siimba, do you want to give us like a little breakdown of what we are going to talk about? What are we going to actually be kind of going over?
Yeah, so we took some stuff from the latest Hearthstone Invitational, which was super cool. Multiple day event. It was nice to see everybody playing together, casting together, and all the fun ideas that were brought from everywhere. We found, at a minimum, it looks like there's a tweet here. It says the newest top 15 win rate Mercs. That's cool, because I hadn't looked through that. But then also, some of the changes that happened, specifically in Americas, with the 4 Mercenaries warbands that they were bringing pre-changes and then post-changes. And all of these, I do believe, were pre-patch, correct? So
Yes.
it was like, yeah. So I guess it shouldn't say pre and post changes, but pre and post new mercenaries dropping, and see how those compositions changed a little bit, because Americas did win the mercenaries portion, and so we thought it would be interesting to look through there and see what they thought was good and what they thought was better from the new selection of mercenaries.
Yeah. Walk us through it. I'm interested to hear how they adjusted their deck list based on the new mercenaries.
So there was 4 decks. I can't remember which one was banned. Like I don't know which one they did not get to use. Yeah, we'll just look through them one by one, I guess. Deck A for Americas was, I believe, like a what you would consider Nature Samuro. I don't know if these things have names, but Nature Samuro. So the original deck list was, Malfurion, Karen for your protectors, Brucon, Anduin for your casters, and then Blademaster Samuro and Diablo for your fighters. And then the new version, it kept pretty much everything the same. You had Malfurion, Karen, Diablo, Samuro, Brucon, and then they swapped Anduin for Cookie the Cook, which was super interesting because I saw Cookie the Cook and I was like, okay, another mercenary might be good. Cool. We'll see. We'll check it out what happened. And then even today when we were looking through, I was like, why in the heck did they put Cookie in this deck? And I was looking at all of Cookie stuff for, I don't know, how long would you say? I was probably staring at it for 5 minutes, just staring at Cookie. Like, why is this in here? And we came up with a couple of hypotheses, and then we realized that Cookie's abilities are not only fast, with the Fish Feast being 2 speed, but they're also nature abilities. And I was like, okay, everything makes sense now. That's hilarious. Starting comp, obviously is going to be your Malfurion, and then probably Malfurion, Brucon, and Samuro. You want to try to get your 1-hits out with Samuro, just clear something off the board. And then after that, my personal thought is that you would just throw out Cookie. I'd love to know what you guys think. You'd toss out of the last 3, but I think you'd throw out Cookie after one of your mercenaries dies.
Well, so like with Brucon kind of in the mix, if Brucon starts out and gets that escalating nature damage bonus going, then Cookie's all of his abilities just becomes super good. Like because the Cookie's cooking, that bleed gets bumped by the nature damage. So like, and that stacks. Like you can just stack bleed to effects on the entire opposing warband. So it adds up really quickly. And even though it doesn't get the healing kick because he's the only Murloc or pirate in the group, Fish Feast still has the death blow, which gives the health bonus. And being at speed 2 means it hits really fast. Like you can pretty predictably hit a death blow when you need it and get that extra health. But the other thing that we noticed about Cookie is just the appetizers, the tier 7 equipment start of game give friendly characters +9 health at top level at rank 4, which is really good. Like that's a chunk of damage to be able to allow the warband to take. So yeah, AoE healing, fast ability, nature, procs with Brucon, and then extra health for everybody. It's a no-brainer. Like you said, you think you're like a Murloc. Why would you take a Murloc? Well, it has nothing to do with the Murloc. It's just his abilities actually work pretty well with Brucon.
Yeah, and the the life root staff as well for Malfurion. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
passive whenever you cast a nature ability, restore 3 health to your characters. So, like, even more healing, like you're saying. And then, okay, well, Cookie's abilities are nature, so you're flinging nature spells and healing all over the place. Yeah, it can get crazy.
Yeah, and that was something they actually swapped. The original deck was using the Briarthorn, and then the secondary deck was using the Life Root Staff, which, as you mentioned, is not only the best, but the correct swap there. So good on them for doing that. I think that's actually the only equipment that was changed, but a very smart transition there by them.
Yeah. So what was the what about the rest of the decks? How did Deck B stack up with the changes?
Deck B. So Deck B started out as King Crush, Rexar, Gruul, Mukla, Velen, Anduin, which I'm looking at that. I'm like, all right, you got your heal, you got your beasts. That looks like a lot of fun. Swap over to what they actually brought. They brought Ragnaros, Garden Dawn Grasp, Karen Bloodhoof, Tavish Stormpike, Diablo, Berenget. I was very confused, honestly. I was expecting way less transitions there from what they actually brought. I actually have played with beasts so little that I don't know if either of you have any insight on what the first deck was doing. Let me know, because I have absolutely no idea.
Well, yes, somewhat. Like the Mukla Crush combo is very, very good in my opinion. I've found them to be pretty effective because King Crush's excuse me, King Crush's abilities seem like kind of wild, like, but you don't know where he's going to attack, but yeah, you do. Like the Apex Predator always attacks the lowest health enemy, and it's a speed 5, so it can be difficult to predict exactly who's going to have the lowest health based on, like, if your opponent ends up attacking you and they lower their own health, Crush might attack the wrong target. True, but the fact that it's a death blow and a repeat comes into play once you factor in the attack bonuses that King Crush can get. Terrify gives you +5 when you do it, and then that is a random attack, but attacking for +5 is important. Now, where that comes in, where that really gets kicked up, is with King Mukla, because Mukla uses primal power to not only give excuse me, goodness, not only give King Crush a big attack boost, but also makes him immune while attacking. So King Crush doesn't have to get all the blowback damage from making all those multiple attacks, especially from the first ability. So those two together can really get things moving. And I notice a lot of people use Mukla's Big Brother, the equipment for Mukla, which at the start of the game you make a 4th taunt minion. I personally like the refreshing bananas to give extra health for the whole team, because Mukla will just gives out so many bananas. It's ridiculous. Like it's like, if you've ever played, it's like playing Mario Kart. Just like bananas everywhere. So you get lots of bonuses from the bananas. You get you get attack bonuses from 2 different abilities, and like King Crush just becomes an absolute monster. Now he ends up dying quickly, just because he attacks so much. But he does a lot of damage before he goes down. And then Rexar just fits in naturally because of his beast related abilities. A kill command is a very fast, high damage attack. It's pretty much a no brainer. I know some people like Lady Anacondra, but like she's not really very popular in competitive, it seems like she was taken 0 times, and it seems like beasts in general got taken very little with the once the new mercenaries drop from the pirate expansion. So it's not beasts not as good, not as favorable as they used to be, but I definitely see where they were going with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes
and
sense.
The Big Brother, right? I'm hoping I'm not messing it up. The taunt that comes out, a lot of people like to use that as well as just a taunt that starts the game, especially if you're expecting like Samuro at the beginning. Just as kind of put a taunt in the way of that and prevent the Samuro from taking something important out early. So, interestingly, that this was this was several weeks ago. And again, with these like initial decks too, that was before any of like the Cookie or the Pirates dropped. So they submitted those decks like what is probably 3 weeks ago, 3.5 weeks ago by now.
Something like that. Yeah.
something-
Early November. Yeah.
Yeah. So because originally the tournament was going to be starting on November 7th, and then there was a whole mess that happened, and they had to switch venues and all sorts of craziness that changed it. But it was like I feel like the Samuro combos especially were really more prevalent at that point. So I feel like that kind of led to people running that a little bit more as well. I think if they had to submit decks now, it might be a little different, or they would use different abilities. But it's interesting to talk about it because I do feel like there's so much depth to these mercenary fights, right? And what people can bring in these war bands and the kind of mix and match of how you're putting things together, plus in addition to what equipment you're playing with the different mercenaries.
That makes sense. For sure. I like that insight there. Yeah, I've never used any of the B stuff, but I'll get to using that stuff eventually. For the renewed deck B again, Rag, Varden, Karen, Tavish, Diablo, Baron, Geddon. You have a ton of combos here. I'm not sure if there's obviously America's had a set start there, but very, immediately I see, okay, Ragnaros, Baron, Geddon, and Tavish have a bunch of synergy. Varden Dawngrass with the Chilling Amulet is also a, fairly good start. It's one of those where you throw her out at the beginning and it's like, do you kill Varden or do you not kill Varden? If you don't kill Varden, you start getting frozen and slowed down all the time. If you do, one of your mercenaries gets slowed. Ragnaros can proc Baron. Tavish on turn 2 can actually proc both Rag and Baron Geddon's fire combos, which is amazing. That being said, I don't know if you would want to throw out Varden Dawngrass first or not, because that combo comes down to with Diablo. You're really looking to Varden to slow everything down, to let the Apocalypse and the Fire Stomp hit. Get a ton of damage there with the Fire Stomp. And then Karen's just good. I'm pretty sure Karen was brought 3 times in almost everyone's lineup, right?
Yeah, pretty much everybody brought Karen. They had specific rules. We kind of talked about that like several weeks ago. But yeah, like having one mercenary in 3 different, we calling them war bands, comps, decks, however you want to put it. Like 3 of the 4 was the max that you could have. So you couldn't have like the same mercenary in all of your lineups. They wanted to try to encourage a little bit of variety at least, and force people to come up with some different stuff, right? But yeah, I feel like Karen was definitely all over the place. I think it was one of the 2 that were the most, like there were I can't remember.
I have that right here actually. It's so the top 3 mercenaries that were selected were Karen, Diablo, and Samuro. They were taken the maximum number of times, 3 times for each Americas, APAC, China, and Europe. So everybody took it max. And then Cookie was taken 9 times out of possible 12. Malfurion and Ragnaros 8 times out of possible 12. So like those 6 were in most or all of the possible deck war bands.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember off the top of my head. I was like, I feel like it's 2 that were like the most popular, but I couldn't remember. But I knew Karen was up there for sure. And I feel like it still even remained popular after, because like Siimba, you mentioned, right, they had to submit these, then Mercs came out, like the new stuff, which was gonna be fine or whatever, but then they also got to resubmit because there was a hot fix to Cairn and Blank Fox, and it was just, I feel like they had to traverse like so many issues, so it was really kind of crazy to look at the differences of these like comps and what they decided to put together. And I love that Cookie was brought, because you talked about how you're like looking at Cookie going, what is this? How does this work? And I feel like people are still doing that. Like from when it was released to now, they're still looking at it going, how does this even work? But then once it's in that once it's actually in the game and things are going, then it's like, oh, okay. I see the synergies. I see the things happening. But looking at it, it's like, what? Why do I want Cookie?
Yeah, because there's so many different combinations, right? If you look at it just from the aspect of Cookie is a Murloc, it doesn't make much sense. If you look at it from, Cookie has decent equipment, okay, you put it in a comp where you need a bunch of health. Then you could swap up, and of course, like they did, Cookie has nature abilities. Well, now everything is just starting to fall right into place. And then one of those nature abilities, of course, is a 2-speed. So it makes sense both why it's confusing and why they're using it in all these comps. And I love that something so new, they were just like, yep, this is good. You know what I mean? Just, this is good. It shows that was not only super creative, but really awesome from the creator side. But then there's also so many just brilliant competitors that they have. Like, I don't even know if I would have leveled up Cookie at that point. Now, now I know. Then I wouldn't have known. I'd be like, nope, sticking with what I know.
Yep. Like I said, somebody's got to go out there and do the wild stuff and find the cool combinations.
Yeah, wow, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, that one's fun. That one's just full of combos. Deck B was full of combos that you can do. And slight side note, I mean, it's definitely relevant. I think that Karen being brought the maximum number of times speaks very, very, very clearly to just like how good Karen is in general. Like, skip the, having it proc on the reincarnation. It's basically an extra mercenary. Basically, an extra, body that you have to get rid of. But also, the speed manipulation is just that good, right? You might have to be slightly more careful when you drop Karen now, right? You drop him 4th or 5th. But just the continuous, I'm going to slow you down. I'm going to speed you up. I found you $1. Gotta be quicker than that. Like, so good.
So then that kind of pushes us into deck C, which they took Karen out of to make room for him somewhere else, right? So how did deck C change between the before and after?
They brought Mukla back. So the before was Jaina Proudmoore, Varden Dawngrass. So you got lots of freeze. Tavish Stormpike, which became, in my eyes, one of the best mercenaries if you use them correctly because of the fact that the traps stack. Like, Tavish is actually really good, especially with the rigged wiring. Diablo is in the pre-deck C, Karen Bloodhoof, and then Malfurion Stormrage. And then, like you mentioned, Karen got removed from this deck, and I guess that was actually to put him in deck B. He was always in deck D. I was going to say in deck D, but I misread that. So yeah, they put Karen in deck B, took him out of deck C. The new deck is Malfurion Stormrage, King Mukla, Blademaster Samuro. Again, there's a third version, or the second version for Americas. Sylvanas Windrunner, Anduin Wrynn, and Cookie again, which is super cool. I actually know nothing about Sylvanas. I have not unlocked Sylvanas. That makes me cry. But the original deck was based almost entirely on speed manipulation. Ice Block Talisman, bringing Jaina back. Chilling Amulet, freezing a mercenary whenever Varden dies. Tavish is pretty much there guaranteed to put those traps up and stack them. And then you'd put out, probably start with Malfurion. Do you start with Malfurion here?
It's I think Mukla is still part of that equation. I think, Dawn is 100% on, getting a taunt on board immediately in order to block Samuro, because Samuro is such a strong opener. And, actually, as I'm looking at these side by sides, they actually inverted B and C. So, like, if you look at the pre-B, post-C, that lines up a little more. So this is where they had put King Mukla in their lineups before, right? And they had Anduin. They swapped out Velen for Cookie. But it's still a pretty different deck. And then you go pre-C, post-B, you have the two Vardens, the Tavish, the Cairn. But then, they took Baron Geddon in the new deck B, which is fascinating. Like, I did not think Baron Geddon was ever going to see play. So him popping up is fascinating to me. But yeah, like, this is where they needed they didn't have Cairn here, so instead of Cairn, they get King Mukla to set up the taunt, basically.
Okay, so King Mukla, Blademaster Samuro, Cookie the Cook, potentially for start, right? Because Cookie's 2-speed, so you can just go ping double hit with Samuro and Mukla's big brother has already set out a nice little taunt for you to try and protect that Samuro there, which is, again, just more brilliant play.
Yeah.
And then you have your Malfurion with all of the nature buffs, Anduin for heals, and then again, I'm not sure how Sylvanas works.
Yeah, I have to claim ignorance on that one too. I have also not cracked Sylvanas. She's one of my chases right now. So
All right, I can do
I don't know.
this.
Dawn, have you played? Do you have Sylvanas, Dawn?
Yeah, Sylvanas is really interesting. She's one that so you pretty much save her for last most of the time, because what kind of the combo that happens is she has this Banshee bolt that deals damage equal to this Merc's attack. Okay, and then you get the Death Volley equipment that deals damage on a death. Well, there's a death rattle, so if it dies, but hold on.
Deal damage.
Get that climb
Now I'm like,
Yeah, I opened mine too.
I was like, wait, I'm okay. Hold on, I'm looking at this incorrectly. I wanted to talk about the other ability first, which is the second ability, which is Reclaimed Souls, to also gain plus attack for each friendly character that died this game. Okay, so the combo, if you play her out earlier, you can pick this Death Volley while she'll have a Death Rattle on. But I feel like a lot of times what ended up happening is Sylvanas would be like the last or second to last mercenary that's played out from the warband. And then you use the Reclaimed Souls. You get a buff of attack based on, because you've already lost 3 or 4 of your other mercenaries. So you get, and I mean at rank 5, or the level to 5, it's gain plus 5 attack for each. So if you've had 3 mercenaries already die, you gain 15 attack, and then you play the Banshee Bolt that deals that 15 plus her already, attack stats that she had to a Merc. And on top of that, if it's a crit, I mean, you can see that damage adds up very, very quickly.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
There's a ton of damage, and I'm looking at the Reclaimed Souls. You said up to 5 gain plus 5 attack for each. Specifically wording. I found wording has been very important in my long journey in Hearthstone. It says each friendly character, which means that you also get 5 for Mukla's big brother, and you would also get 5 for any bear traps. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's why it's usually paired with things that can, and like, you see even in this deck C, Cookie is in there, right? So if you doesn't Cookie, you can summon fish and stuff. I think you can summon some for your own too, or is it just the opponent's side?
I think they just pop up
Go
on
Fish,
the opponent.
yeah, opponent with a death rattle
okay.
that benefits you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Samuro can mirror image, because that technically dies.
And then
Yep.
the like you said, then the Mukla with the big brother, which you see is what they had slotted for that equipment. So and that's why usually Sylvanas is brought out later, because then that Reclaimed Souls, it does have a 1-turn cooldown anyways, so you're not going to want to be, and it's a 10 speed, like it's super slow. So you want to save Sylvanas till you've already had some stuff die, bring her out, use Reclaimed Souls first, and then on the next round you do Banshee Bolt and like obliterate stuff.
That's sick.
Yeah, Deck C is a banger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, especially because there's no cooldown there, right? Like for Sylvanas, if you're putting her out last, everything just comes out free and clear.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you have
that-
to use the Reclaimed Souls first, and then like on the next round of attacks, then you can use the Banshee Bolt. The downside, and I think why we didn't see her more, is that this was kind of a strategy that a lot of people were fairly familiar with and were coming up with strategies to kind of answer it. So like if you can, save for some critical hits or prevent critical hits, or have things that have like enormous health at the end, or even on the other side of the board, you start putting out a bunch of your own beasts and things like that, then it made it a little bit difficult to try to actually use Sylvanas properly. Plus, yeah, it like if the opponent knows it's coming and they save some stuff. Like Sylvanas can get picked off fairly easily. She doesn't have an insane amount of health, but
yeah. And that whole thing with the Samuro mirror images dying that triggers that off it's not only for this specific comp, but when you're picking up treasures and stuff in the in your PvE runs, the fact that the mirror images die technically means a lot of other things can get triggered. So kind of keep that in mind, like when you're going through a run and you see a treasure that's based off of that specific trigger. If you have Samuro in your warband,
yeah, and I think that's the reason why if you look at like for Sylvanas specifically, you see such a difference in or not Sylvanas, excuse me, for Samuro. You kind of see that difference in the equipment that is chosen. This is the only deck that for Blademaster Samuro they chose Sash of Illusion, and that is to combo with that Sylvanas. So you get those illusions, they die. But in the other decks, the other war bands that they brought Samuro, they actually had a different equipment because it worked well. So you can really see how picking and choosing how things are going to be working together, like which key pieces they were looking for impacted the success overall.
That's super cool. Phenomenal. Deck D actually didn't change, which is pretty
it was just good.
It was just good D. Damn it. Anyways,
wait.
Yeah,
come on.
I was waiting. I was like,
a little bit warning. There it is.
I thought that's why we were laughing, and you knew. I'm so sorry.
I'm off my game. I was reading abilities.
Alrighty. Took a drink of water. We're on to deck D. Vol'jin with the Ring of Haste. Vol'jin's actually really good. I have my Vol'jin level 25 right now. I have him max in a day. Natalie Celine, Splinter of Nordrassil. Did I even say that correct?
Nordrassil, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
That sounds correct.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a cool equipment since the Anathema and Benediction have no cooldown. But anyways, Blademaster Samuro with the Burning Blade, Diablo with the Black Soul Stone, Karen Bloodhoof with the Reincarnation, as it should be, and Ragnaros with Sulfuras. I have to assume that this comp was one that they wanted like Ragnaros to do a bunch of clears at the end. One thing that I don't want to say I noticed because it's pretty clear in all comp, but all these comps have 2 protectors, 2 fighters, 2 casters. And since I didn't watch, I don't know, but I have to assume that everybody's playing one of each for their starting lineup. I have to assume. I could be wrong. Is that what you guys have been seeing? Like you bring 2 of each, then you play a protector, a fighter, a caster, and then like decide based on what happens what you play next?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's when you have 0 information, you kind of have to have all your bases covered, so that you don't miss any potential crits or get like double critted by something if they catch it by surprise,
Yeah. Celine, I don't think you'd probably be starting with Natalie.
Yeah,
maybe,
I
because
think that
yes, because Shadow Beam is a 4. Shadow Beam is a 4 speed.
Yeah, so you can still pair it with Samuro because you just resolve the tie on the 4. But I think people prefer to go with something faster just in case there's some kind of sneaky snooky speed adjustment. But Vol'jin doesn't have anything that triggers. Like Cookie has the speed too, right? So Cookie's like a nice fit. But none of Vol'jin's stuff opens on a 4 or faster. So if you're opening with Samuro, I think you have to open with Natalie.
Change that. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
Vol'jin. Come here, buddy. All right, so we found Vol'jin, and then what is it? Shadow Shock 1.
Yeah.
At speed 6, and then the ring is 3 speed faster. Ring of Haste
3
4.
speed faster. Oh, so that
Shadow
actually
abilities
bumps.
are 3 speed faster.
Okay, so Shadow Shock with the Ring of Haste becomes a 2, 3.
3 speed, yeah.
Okay, well there you go.
I don't
Never
have
mind.
a max.
I'm talking outside of my mouth.
Curious about. I was just curious how far the Ring of Haste went.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't think about that.
It makes Shadow Shock a 3, Shadow Surge a 2, and Curse of Weakness a 1 speed. That's really good.
Yeah,
It's
I mean
really good.
having his speed adjustment plus just having a fast opening ability just super good.
Yeah, Vol'jin, Samuro, probably Karen. I can't think of any reason that you would start with Ragnaros here.
No, he's kind of like he's batting cleanup, right? Like he's coming in on the fourth swing.
Absolutely the designated hitter of this deck, for sure. And then, I mean, Karen with the reincarnation probably comes in hard 4 to speed up or slow everything down, followed by Natalie and Diablo. That is very cool that they did stick with the exact same deck list, exact same equipments and all that, which shows you that that deck by itself just is really good. I don't know if it's top tier. I mean, it was being played at the highest level. I don't know if it's currently top tier with everything that's been done with, you know, Cookie and Edwin and all that stuff, but very, 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 very solid deck.
Yeah, I mean, I find that, you know, if we're looking at at who took what, like Natalie, Vol'jin were both taken once by each team, so that means that this comp right here, this deck D comp was very popular, and it saw a lot of play. So yeah, it's the look if you're looking to competitive players for your comps, your warbands. I mean, any of these are good starting positions, but obviously Deck D has some firmness as a cornerstone for these, for a conquest style, So obviously it's good.
Yeah.
And I do like Natalie's the Splinter of Nordrassil, just because Anathema Benediction is so difficult to use when it's on cooldown, and you without it you kind of are forced to use her in one form or the other. But having it 0 cooldown means you can switch her on the fly and be able to change gears as needed, which I find pretty useful. I like utility when it comes to cards, so like having her be able to heal or harm, as in the D&D parlance, that's a nice feature of this particular composition.
Yeah, the versatility is one of my favorite things in almost any game, but especially stuff like this. It makes you think more. And it also makes your opponent think more. Oh, they could do what if they do this? What if they do that? Throw some of your opponents off their feet. Give you more options to restabilize your comp. That one's. I'd like to try that one out myself.
And it kind of speaks to in larger card flipping circles, and going back to the early history of such things, like the idea of a switch deck is a known concept for a reason. Being able to play one style and then transition into a different style to adapt to, either the game state or to your opponent's deck or both, is very valuable. And it's you find in some metas that decks that can switch gears tend to perform better than decks that are shoehorned into one style of play, depending on how good that one style of play is in that particular meta. So, versatility, it's very valuable, and I think it's worth keeping Natalie kind of in the back of your mind when you're making comps, because of her ability to switch roles on the warband. I think that's super cool.
Hell
yeah. I think overall it was just a really cool tournament, and it was really awesome to see all of these comps like be talked about, be played, and each region had 2 members of the team that were for the Mercenaries specifically. I don't know if we mentioned that, but for America specifically, Luna Love and Frozen were the pilots for Mercenaries. So I know they did like a ton of prep, a ton of practice. Gia played APAC, and then she ended up doing casting on the final night, I think. So like,
yeah,
there was a lot going on there, but it was really cool to see them like using these mercenaries that we've seen, like we talked about, right? We've talked about some different combos, and then actually getting to see them like kind of play this in a big tournament, like on a big stage. I think overall was just super, super cool. I'd love to see another one happen and see how, like, if they do a different format, if the overall war bands that they bring change at all. I don't know. It's fascinating. I love seeing it.
Yeah, and like I was curious to see how Conquest would work out, in this kind of format, especially with all the deck building restrictions that they had, and there was pretty strong gravitation towards the best cards, the best mercs that are in the meta at that time. This was of course pre-patch, so we don't know how things have shaken up just yet. But there were some clear cut patterns, I think, in the deck building. So having a multi warband format was a great way to kind of highlight how those composition synergies are working and how people are thinking as far as their composition building goes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on this main topic before we do a couple of fun little awesome plugs and things like that before we get into closing?
Cookies A tier. That's all I got.
Yeah, buddy.
Cookie is like that mercenary that you didn't know you wanted, and then you look at it and still go, I don't want that. And then you play it, you're like, yes, I love it. Absolutely. All right. Well, real quick, I wanted to just talk about, or I guess plug kind of. It was so cool. I got to cast Masters Tour, some of the Masters Tour anyways, last weekend.
That was bomb.
It was so cool. It was so surreal. I talked about it a little bit on like my stream and on our other weekly podcast, but like I remember at one point, I think it was like either Saturday night or Sunday night, because I got to cast on Friday. I was, kind of getting ready for bed, and I was trying to watch a little bit that I had missed over one of the days, and so I put on like the playlist of the VODs, and I ended up falling asleep. And then at one point, I woke up to like, I think it was me and Derek casting, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, that's my face. Like, that's me. That's me casting. Like, it was so crazy. It was like, it's still so surreal, but I know it was standard and not mercenaries, but it was so cool. There was also some like teasing type of stuff going on between like A-Bar and Eric Elliott from the Blizzard team. Kind of talking on Twitter to Celissa and stuff about, we really enjoyed the BGs. I wonder if we could do BGs in the future. So it seems like they're really hinting at some more stuff. So I can't wait until next year. We're going to get information on next year's competitive scene on December 18th when we get the Worlds Championship. So I'm curious to see if they're going to include mercenary stuff in that, or maybe even do like more, invitational type stuff, but I hope so. But I just wanted to make sure that I kind of plugged that because it was such a cool thing. It's so crazy.
And people from what I saw, people on Twitter really enjoyed your casting. So I say congrats. I think you did a great job. They're gonna come. They're going to ask you back again. I gotta believe they would.
Wow.
Yeah, almost guaranteed. I was there for a little while on day, and I had a great time. I was able to set it down, go do some stuff, follow along with exactly what was happening, come back, take a glance at the board, know exactly where I was at. It was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a blast. I'm so glad that people did like it so much. But you know what else is really, really cool that we're going to hype up, because we love hyping other people up and lifting each other up and celebrating. But Cinder, what do we got?
Yeah. Oh, y'all. So this not only is this just great on its own, but I think it's great for us because I feel like it takes a little pressure off of us. So there's a new podcast out there, y'all. It's called The Fighting Pit. It is hosted by Tangster and Mullahoo and ZombiesGoNomNom. And this trio, are some of, like, if you wanted to follow people who are really, really good at mercenaries PvP, those are three people you should definitely follow on Twitter. But now they have a podcast. They're doing their own thing. It's very specifically focused on the PvP side of mercenaries. So they're gonna go into deep dives and probably make me look like a total moron as far as mercenaries goes, because they got the big brain, and I can't wait to start listening. I think they're on episode 2 already. I feel like I need to catch up, but yeah, go follow their podcast. Find it. It's called The Fighting Pit. It's on Spotify. Follow Tankster, follow Mullahoo, follow ZombiesGoNomNom, and level up your PvP game. That's the place to be. And hopefully maybe we'll get one of them to come visit us one day soon.
Phenomenal. That'll be a cool one.
Yes, absolutely. I know I got to, the day after Mercenaries came out, Mullahoo and I did casting. And yeah, just like I felt like I was pretty good. You know, I'm like, all right, I kind of know what I'm talking about. But man, listening to Mullahoo talk, I was like, oh my God. I was like, do I even know anything about this game? Like,
that's amazing.
Man, it really is. They really are on another level with the PvP stuff. So yeah, check it out.
Yes. And I think Tangster is the one that you were kind of talking about and mentioning earlier, right? There was some banter, let's say, some suggestions and banter going on between some of us on Twitter about potentially doing some sort of like listener series, listener league type thing.
Oh yeah.
Between our audiences. So if that is something that you would like to be involved in, or you would like to even see and hear us talk about between the two shows, then, let us know. And there are tons of places you can go to let us know about that and keep up to date with anything that might be happening. So you can find our episodes on YouTube, everywhere you can find audio podcasts, and on Twitter at Spirit Healer Pod. Email us at spirithealerpodcast@gmail.com. Jump in our Discord. We have that posted on our Twitter and everything as well in our show notes. So jump in there, join us. Let us know if you would like to see some sort of Mercenaries popper type thing between the show listeners. But we definitely want to thank Purrple Cat for the use of the amazing music that we use for the show. And to find more from each of us, you can find me over on Twitter at DawnieDK, DAWNIEDK. Find me on Twitch and YouTube, dragonrider DK, and every week talking about standard Hearthstone at the Dr. 3HS podcast. And Cinder, where can people find more from you?
Just go to the Twitters. It's at Cinder Ascendant. And minor personal news. Just wanted to share the great news with everybody. I signed the contract. I am official. I am working for Magic the Gathering, y'all.
Yay! So exciting.
That's so cool. So cool. Congrats. Yeah, I love Magic the Gathering. So like, you're stoked, and I'm trying to pretend like I'm not stoked for like sake of the pod. But like that, I like hype boy. I'm like bouncing around and shit. I love Magic.
Yeah. I'm super excited. I'm a long time, cardboard paper flipper. That's why I got into Hearthstone to begin with. I was like, Warcraft and card game. Wow. So yeah, this is going back to my roots and actually working, having a big boy job doing it for realsies. Oh, it's so cool, y'all.
Yes. Okay, Siimba, where can people find more from you? Because I know that you're also hyping up your own stuff and doing a bunch. Where can we find you?
Siimba TV _ SIIMBA TV _ on all the platforms. If you're looking on YouTube, take the underscore away and you'll find it. And let me know what kind of YouTube videos you guys want to see. Because I'm playing like 6 games right now and trying to put out a bunch of cool stuff. It's been a good time. So thank you guys for always checking us out.
Yeah, just gonna say, like, we're recording slightly later than we normally do right now because Siimba had a really hot Storybook Brawl stream going, and we didn't want to interrupt him. So yeah, definitely go check him out.
I know, he's watching him, and then he's wrapping up his stream, and he just casually goes, "Oh yeah, there's my rating. Okay, oh, I'm just 1600th in the world for this game."
Yeah,
I'm like, excuse me, what? You're doing how well? And hearing him, I'm like, I tried that game, and I was like, I am so bad at this. And he's just casually like, yeah, I play like 6 games, and I'm kind of just really good at all of them.
Yeah, no. mostly the strategy games. Oh, I'll play a game for you guys. Halo just dropped. I know nobody cares about Halo, but the new Halo just dropped, and that's a game that if you guys want to sit and laugh at, yeah, watch me play Halo.
Okay, we need to do that because you are just way too good at too many games. But I like that you are so good at so many games because I can learn things from you.
A lot of fun. Storybook Brawl is amazing.
Yes. So there you go. If you want to get better at Mercenaries, you want to learn more about Storybook, you want to, kick it with somebody who's now working for Wizards of the Coast on Magic the Gathering, we got you covered. Cinder and Siimba got you covered. I'm just, like, I can talk and make things sound nice.
You just cast for the actual Hearthstone company makers. That's all.
I was like, that's what I was thinking.
Nothing
I want
important.
that job. I'll trade you.
Yeah, and before anybody throws me any heat, I'm in the art department. I don't do development. Don't at me with any cards that suck or are OP. That's not my department.
No, that's right. You just make things look amazing.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'm so hyped. Y'all are doing so much, and I'm so proud of you. We're all just kicking butt at what we're doing, and we hope that you all enjoy everything that we've got going on. Hope that you enjoyed this episode as well, this kind of deep dive and discussion about some of those war bands that were brought to the tournament. And again, let us know anything that you would like to see in the future. If something like a listener series, a listener league between us and the Fighting Pit, if you want to be a part of that, let us know. We'll see if we can get something put together and planned for that. But otherwise, from us here, thank you for choosing us as your resting place of choice. And we'll see you next week.